in Manipur. There is fresh violence in the state. There was a BSF Constable that was killed, 2 Assam Rifles personnel that have been injured in the Manipur fighting. But the most unfortunate piece of news is the fact that a mother and a son are among the 3 that are feared killed in a mob attack on an ambulance. So essentially a mother and son among those 3 that are feared to have been burnt alive. There is suspected Kuki militants behind attacks in Kakching District. Take a look at these visuals. I mean, the unrest is unreal.
Well, the unrest is unreal, and also the worrying factor that the violence, as we were, we have had a lot of discussions about this violence and the cycle of violence that is there, and we are in fact seeing the cycle of violence continue, and it is really the kind of situation that we see on the ground seems to be really alarming, and it is really worrying. Well, look at the violence that we are looking at. The Indian Express has in fact mentioned the BSF Constable who has been killed, 2 Assam Rifles personnel injured in Manipur firing. Suspected Kuki militants behind attack in Kakching District is what the police say. The Border Security Force Constable has been identified as Ranjit Yadav. Now, another shocking part of that same story, it's all there in the front pages. Mother, son among 3 feared killed in a mob attack on an ambulance. That is, and look at the sad part of it. There's a Metis woman married to a Kuki man. Her son and a relative are feared dead after an ambulance was set on fire by a mob in Imphal on Sunday. Relatives and residents of their village have told the Indian Express, I'm reading from the Indian Express, the ambulance was taking the child to the hospital and was being escorted by police personnel when this happened. The incident took place in Imphal's West Irosemba area under the jurisdiction of Lamphel Police Station. Now,
so what needs to happen next over here? I mean, you've had the
Kabir,
Home
the
Minister
fact
that
over
is
here,
visited.
over here is that she is a Metis woman who is married to a Kuki man. I mean, this is a family. There, of course, in India, we all come from different diversities. There are mixed families, different identity families and all that. But this is so sad that this has happened when the child was being taken to the hospital in an ambulance. There was police personnel itself, but I think they seem to have been overwhelmed with the kind of mob presence that was there. And the mother as well as the son were burnt alive along with their relative. This shows that on the ground, we are yet not able
Have we taken any steps
to douse
forward
the
at all?
emotional situation on the ground.
You know, a week back we were discussing whether this train that was halted, this train that was, going to bring peace and normalcy back in the hill state, has it started moving? And people had come on and there was a chorus that was growing that yes, it has started moving. We will return to normalcy soon. But it seems like we've only taken steps back. And what needs to be done right now is, of grave significance when one is looking at the time.
Well, what you're saying is correct. But now what the center has done as an immediate step right now, the Hindu has mentioned it, while giving the headline as mother-child burnt alive in Manipur as crisis escalates is this. The center has airlifted around 1,000 border security force personnel to Manipur on Tuesday as violence, arson and killings continued in the crisis-hit state. More than 20,000 Central Armed Police Force personnel and army troops have been deployed in Manipur since ethnic violence between the Metis and Kuki communities erupted on May 3rd, claiming more than 100 lives so far. So right now, another 1,000 Jawans have been airlifted to carry on with the flag marches and also to ensure that law and order is maintained. But as I said, it is quite a worrying factor that the cycle of violence has not yet been broken in this, and it's only becoming too much on the ground, with emotions being, spanned in such a way that this cycle of violence is continuing. We were in fact hoping that peace would have come when Home Minister Amit Shah was there. He was there, he took stock, he went to the camps, he spoke with the stakeholders, but it looks like on the ground the fans of this crisis are being the fans are just flaming the fire and hatred on the ground between the communities. And what a tragedy that we are in fact looking at our early morning newspapers with, where a mother and child is in fact being burnt in an ambulance.
I just fail to understand what more needs to be done on the ground, because we know that the socio-economic fault lines are far and many. You've got various topics to talk about. The effects are being felt in other parts of the country as well, politically. But on the ground, we're losing out our brethren. There are so many people who've already lost their lives. And
in fact, a
how
rough
do you
estimate
placate-
says that from May 3rd onwards, Kabir, at least 100 people have died because of the violence from here. It's a rough estimate that has been put up in the papers. And multiple incidents of violence, arson, firing have been reported. And there has been redeployment of additional troops over the past 48 hours. The army has said in the statement, especially in junctions where
is
Meitei
more
and Kuki
troops
incidents
on the
there.
ground, more boots on the ground the answer?
Well, it depends.
You
how
need
much.
them to control the situation,
So
I agree.
yeah,
But
we need them to control the situation, and it depends how much can the army is essentially not there to maintain law and order. It is the other security agencies that are supposed to go ahead and maintain law and order. You have over here the army doing that work. You have the BSF that has been flown in to carry on with that work. But at the same time, bringing peace seems to be quite difficult because emotionally everyone seems to be charged about it. As I said, this is going to be a generational issue. This what has happened in Manipur will be spoken a lot in the Meitei generations that are coming in the future, as well as the Kuki groups that are going to come in the future. It's going to be a generational trauma that will be handed over. But it looks like on the ground, the efforts for peace that is being carried out seems to be a little bit being held back as of now because of the fact that the emotions regarding this entire issue is still continuing. The violence is still continuing, the arson is still continuing, and therefore it looks like the administration will have to step up with more force to control the violence first, and then only they can in fact push for any kind of peace terms, any kind of talks. But dialogue is the only way. We can't go on like this in Manipur.
But do you see dialogue happening on the ground? Do you see it happen?
For
I
that,
mean, with these
for
kinds
that
of violence,
the violence
taking
so,
place,
yeah, what you're saying
people
is
who are
right.
coming for these dialogues are essentially heads of these associations.
So,
these regional,
so who is
regional
fanning
tribal
these?
groups.
Who is fanning this violence? We have to first understand who is fanning the violence. We have to just see. We have to just stop the fuel from. If there is fire, you don't keep on pouring the fuel, right? So you have to stop the fuel. So somewhere someone has to find out what is leading to it. Who is fueling this violence again and again, especially when there are teams out there trying to bring peace, especially when there is, process of dialogue initiated by the center, when the Home Minister
There's a unified
had
command.
come over there.
There's a
And
peace panel. CBI is going to conduct a judicial probe into this entire process. The Home Minister went there. The Chief Minister's got his own team there. The Chief Minister is the Home Minister of the state. If these authorities, these big bodies are unable to find out who's fanning the violence, how do you expect the people on the ground to, suddenly, get placated, be pacified with whatever the government and the authorities are up to?
so nobody is going to be pacified, but there can be semblance of law and order that can be brought in place. And for that, probably there could be doubling of efforts that has to be. Manipur is a very key border state. We cannot allow it to be in the kind of situation that it is in right now. So it being a very key border state, I think there should be efforts to be carried on when it comes to this, because as I was reading out, there have been multiple incidents that have been reported. We have seen most of them reporting only one incident, but the fact remains is that this particular state is an important border state, and there needs to be some kind of an effort to bring peace as fast as possible. It happened on May 3rd, Kabir, and now we are June 7th, and the violence had been, first violence was reported from May 3rd onwards. And it's almost crossed a month, and we are still on the same drawing board. So there has to be more efforts to be put out. Also, bringing to your attention, the Manipur government yet to take stand on adding Meiteis to the ST list. I'll just read that article for you. It's there in the Hindu as well. As ethnic clashes continue between the Meiteis and the Kuki Zomi people in Manipur, the state government is yet to take a position on whether the former should be given the scheduled tribe status, according to submissions made before the division bench of Manipur High Court in Imphal on Tuesday. So right now it looks like the state government is also on the bind with regard to the ST status that has to be given to the Meiteis as such. Meanwhile, the MTU to file objection. Meanwhile, members of the Meitei Tribes Union also arranged as respondents sought a week's time to file their objections to the appeal. The MTU as organization, the first approached the Manipur court seeking direction for their recommendation for being included in the ST list. The entire violence started from this issue of whether the Meiteis can be given the ST list, and therefore this is the kind of situation that we are in now. And this violence is direct result of the fault line between these various ethnic groups coming onto the administrative structure and whether one or the other would overtake them. So this feeling of the othering is what has led to this fault line to come to such a situation, Kabir. And therefore, again, this is again a huge question, because the Manipur government is yet to take a stand on that, because right now it's not the time for it. It looks like that.
And another bottom line that one has to look at is the fact that, you know, our security forces, personnel, army men, they're being targeted by militants in Manipur. A BSF Jawan got killed. 2 Assam Rifles personnel have been injured. The Chief Minister N. Biren Singh, he paid his last respects to the slain BSF Constable Ranjit Yadav yesterday. And a combing operation was, did follow the firing. And in the combing operation, you found 2 Kalashnikov rifles, a 51 mm mortar, 2 carbines, and an ammunition dump, collective dump of just bullets over there. Additional forces have been deployed in the neighborhood. So you've got more boots that are going, being deployed via the aircraft.